Julia Hartstein again, Pilates instructor. I am here to help you and your body. The next thing I want to go over that I was talking about in the last video with the wall is your stance. Now in Pilates, you usually work out your whole workout in your stance, depending on what that is. And for most people, it's either heels together, toes apart, and it's a pretty wide V, and parallel. Depending on your body and what your teacher's teaching, you might be somebody who does 1 foot parallel and 1 foot turned out. It all depends on your body. Most people, heels together, toes apart, or parallel. In 20 years of teaching, I think I've taught maybe 2 people that stance might be a little different. Or, maybe heels together, toes apart, but one was wider for some reason in their body. I actually did have one person who should work a little bit more parallel, and then one turned out until their body got used to what they were doing so they could work a stance. So let's take a look at your feet. Now your stance is holding your body all the way up. It's not just your feet doing something and the rest of your body doing this, right? We're going to work on that too, but I want to look and focus on our feet. So let's come down here so you can look at my feet more so. Yes. So most people work heels together, toes apart. And I'm going to show you what this looks like sideways as well, because most people will do this nice little itty bitty V. And if you notice here, right, because it's a connection all the way down and up, right? We're making a connection between the 2 spaces, what that looks like. You're not really doing all that much. When I have to open up my feet just that little bit more and work that pinky toe, look at how much more that engages to hold that, right? Romana would always say, keep your headlights forward. And just so you can see from the front, heels together, toes apart, and what the legs look like, and what it looks like here when you're opening and holding. Look at how much more engaged that is. It doesn't look even on there. When I'm looking down, I look even, but when I look in there, it doesn't look so even. Wow. All right. So that is heels together, toes apart. You usually do that if you're somebody whose knees roll in, right? They call it knock-kneed or pigeon-toed. That is more likely the stance you are going to work. If you have an injury, a knee injury, sometimes if you have an ankle injury, it depends on the person, you would be working a parallel stance, and you really want it to work underneath your hips. A lot of people will do this. And I always tell people you're not as big as you think, right? You want to find where your sit bones are, right? You want to put your hands underneath your tush. And it doesn't matter, you can dig into that spot too with your own body, right? It's those bones you've been sitting on, right? I call them the sit bones. It's the bottom of your hips. Ischium, ilium. I believe it's your ischium. Ilium is the front, ischium is the back. Because I always think shit bones, right? And closer to the pooper. So you want to keep that stance sideways as well, and that's what that looks like. This is also a little bit more advanced depending on your practice. If you're somebody who has been practicing for a while and you've been doing heels together, toes apart, I highly suggest working parallel, because you'll start to notice you have to hold these because they want to do this, right? But this, and Romana always said parallel was the advanced work. So that is your stance. Again, knee injuries. And then you want to notice this. Let's see if I can get that just a little bit more angled and up the body if I step back a little bit. Right? You want your whole stance to work all the way up, so that no matter what I'm doing, right, like that wall, I'm keeping this whole area like a Greek column, Joseph Pilates used to say. Right? This is your side view of your heels together, toes apart. You want to watch in your body when you like to do this, when you like to do this, right? You want all of this in, keeping your stance. Greek column, because eventually we're going to do our arm weight series, and this stance is very important. Also, your heels together, toes apart stance, right? Same thing. See my rib cage? Actually, I can pull my rib cage in a little bit more in this stance and lengthen my thighs. Because the tendency is to want to do this, right? For any of us, depending on our knees and legs, right? We all like the one side better, right? If you're carrying children all the time, a lot of times it's on one hip. you want to notice, because you'll start standing more that one side. And if you look at yourself in a mirror, or you can use your phone and camera, and you can tell, oh wow, I have to stand. And it's going to feel like you're only using one leg when you're doing that, right? Because if you tend to do this and you make yourself center, you're only going to feel this leg. It's going to feel like this one's doing nothing. It is, you're just so not used to using the other leg that it feels uneven. And I call it the Quasimodo feeling because it feels odd. It feels like this, right? It's going to feel like you're doing this on the one leg when you're not. When you look at yourself, you're like this, but it feels like this because you're not used to using it. So just be aware that when you're working through your body, it does feel uneven. It's great to have either your phone, something that reflects you. I have a mirror over here. Ta-da! Sometimes I can see, but unless it's a full-length mirror, you don't get to see. So depending on what you're doing, if I know my stance is correct looking here and I look into the mirror, I can see myself sideways. So they're both correct to do. It's great if you have a full-length one, doesn't matter. Those are your stances, and they will be used throughout your workout. So in your mat workout, which we'll be teaching, I'm going to be teaching you beginner workout. That is something you are going to keep the entire time. So I would like you to practice this. It's also an exercise we'll go into with 2x4 as well. It's a great ankle strengthening exercise. Yeah, that's it for now. So again, please reach out if you have any questions, you have any concerns, you have any injuries or ailments maybe you need modifications for. I'm also going to be going into those. I have a Vimeo channel that I will be putting videos on, obviously, more specific to certain things that we're talking about. You'll get a little bit here, but I'm also going to be making videos specifically for injuries and ailments. I'm going to have a mat class that I'm going to teach that will be, what do you call it? More of a basic version of it. And then I will teach a mat class to the level it should be taught at. That way you have it, you can play it back, you can work out to it, and it'll be there for you. I'll also have a free one on here as well. So just so you have an idea, because it'll be bits and parts, that's why. Anyway, there's your stance. Questions, reach out. Julia Hartstein, Julia at clinginggracepilates.com. Many blessings. Love you.